Exodus 28. Orders being given for the fitting up of the place of worship. In this and the following chapter, care is taken about the priests that were to minister in this holy place as the menial servants of the God of Israel. He hired servants as a token of his purpose to reside among them. In this chapter, he pitches upon the persons who should be his servants. Verse 1. He appoints their livery. Their work was holy, and so must their garments be, and unanswerable to the glory of the house which was now to be erected. Verse 2 through 5. 1. He appoints the garments of his head servant, the high priest, which were very rich. 1. An ephod and girdle. Verse 6 through 14. 2. A breastplate of judgment. Verse 15 through 29, in which must be put the Urim and Thummim. Verse 30. 3. The robe of the ephod. Verse 31 through 35. 4. The mitre. Verse 36 through 39. 2. The garments of the inferior priests. Verses 40 through 43. And these also were shadows of good things to come. The priest's attire. 1491 BC.
1. And take thou unto thee Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, from among the children of Israel, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office, even Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's sons. And thou shalt make holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for glory and for beauty. And thou shalt speak unto all that are wise-hearted, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, and an ephod, and a robe, and a broidered coat, a mitre, and a girdle. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron thy brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And they shall take gold, and blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine linen. We have here the priests nominated, Aaron and his sons, verse 1. Hitherto every master of a family was priest to his own family, and offered as he saw cause upon altars of earth. But now that the families of Israel began to be incorporated into a nation, and a tabernacle of the congregation was to be erected as a visible center of their unity, it was requisite there should be a public priesthood instituted. Moses, who had hitherto officiated, and is therefore reckoned among the priests of the Lord, Psalm 99:6, had enough to do as their prophet to consult the oracle for them, and as their prince to judge among them. Nor was he desirous to engross all the honors to himself, or to entail that of the priesthood, which alone was hereditary, upon his own family, but was very well pleased to see his brother Aaron invested in this office, and his sons after him, while, how great soever he was, his sons after him would be but common Levites. It is an instance of the humility of that great man, and an evidence of his sincere regard for the glory of God, that he had so little regard to the preferment of his own family. Aaron, who had humbly served as a prophet to his younger brother Moses, and did not decline the office, chapter 7, verse 1, is now advanced to be a priest, a high priest to God. For he will exalt those that abase themselves. Nor could any man have taken this honor to himself, but he that was called of God to it. Hebrews 5:4. God had said of Israel in general that they should be to him a kingdom of priests, chapter 19, verse 6. But because it was requisite that those who ministered at the altar should give themselves wholly to the service, and because that which is everybody's work will soon come to be nobody's work, God here chose from among them one to be a family of priests, the father and his 4 sons. And from Aaron's loins descended all the priests of the Jewish church, of whom we read so often both in the Old Testament and in the New. A blessed thing it is when real holiness goes, as the ceremonial holiness did, by succession in a family.
2. The priest's garments appointed for glory and beauty. Verse 2. Some of the richest materials were to be provided. Verse 5. And the best artists employed in the making of them, whose skill God, by a special gift for this purpose, would improve to a very high degree. Verse 3. Note, eminence, even in common arts, is a gift of God. It comes from him, and, as there is occasion, it ought to be used for him. He that teaches the husbandman discretion teaches the tradesman also. Both, therefore, ought to honor God with their gain. Human learning ought particularly to be consecrated to the service of the priesthood, and employed for the adorning of those that minister about holy things. The garments appointed were 1, 4, which both the high priest and the inferior priests wore, namely the linen breeches, the linen coat, the linen girdle which fastened it to them, and the bonnet or turban. That which the high priest wore is called a mitre. 2, 4 more, which were peculiar to the high priest, namely the ephod, with the curious girdle of it, the breastplate of judgment, the long robe with the bells and pomegranates at the bottom of it, and the golden plate on his forehead. These glorious garments were appointed, 1, that the priests themselves might be reminded of the dignity of their office and might behave themselves with due decorum. 2, that the people might thereby be possessed with a holy reverence of that God, whose ministers appeared in such grandeur. 3, that the priests might be types of Christ, who should offer himself without spot to God, and of all Christians who have the beauty of holiness put upon them, in which they are consecrated to God. Our adorning, now under the gospel, both that of ministers and Christians, is not to be of gold and pearl and costly array, but the garments of salvation and the robe of righteousness, Isaiah 61:10, Psalm 132, 9, 16. As the filthy garments wherewith Joshua the high priest was clothed signify the iniquity which cleaved to his priesthood, from which care was taken that it should be purged, Zechariah 3:3 and 4. So those holy garments signified the perfect purity that there is in the priesthood of Christ. He is holy, harmless, and undefiled.
Directions are given here concerning the ephod, which was the outmost garment of the high priest. Linen ephods were worn by the inferior priests. Samuel wore one when he was a child, and David when he danced before the ark. But this which the high priest only wore was called a golden ephod, because there was a great deal of gold woven into it. It was a short coat without sleeves, buttoned closely to him, with a curious girdle of the same stuff, verse 6 to 8. The shoulder pieces were buttoned together with 2 precious stones set in gold, one on each shoulder, on which were engraven the names of the children of Israel, verse 9 to 12. In allusion to this, 1, Christ our high priest appeared to John girt about the breast with a golden girdle, such as was the curious girdle of the ephod, Revelation 1:13. Righteousness is the girdle of his loins, Isaiah 11:6, and should be of ours, Ephesians 6:14. He is girt with strength for the work of our salvation and is ready for it. 2. The government is said to be upon his shoulders, Isaiah 9:6, as Aaron had the names of all Israel upon his shoulders in precious stone. He presents to himself and to his Father a glorious church, Ephesians 5:27. He has power to support them, interest to recommend them, and it is in him that they are remembered with honor and favor. He bears them before the Lord for a memorial, verse 12, in token of his appearing before God as the representative of all Israel and an advocate for them.
Aaron's attire, 1491 BC. And thou shalt make the breastplate of judgment with cutting work. After the work of the ephod thou shalt make it. Of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen shalt thou make it. 4 square it shall be, being doubled. A span shall be the length thereof, and a span shall be the breadth thereof. And thou shalt set in it settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. And the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row a liger, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold in their enclosings. And the stone shall be with the names of the children of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a signet. Every one with his name shall they be according to the 12 tribes. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate chains at the ends of wreathen work of pure gold. And thou shalt make upon the breastplate 2 rings of gold, and shalt put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. And thou shalt put the 2 wreathen chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate. And the other 2 ends of the 2 wreathen chains thou shalt fasten in the 2 ouches, and put them on the shoulder pieces of the ephod before it. And thou shalt make 2 rings of gold, and thou shalt put them upon the 2 ends of the breastplate in the border thereof, which is in the side of the ephod inward. And 2 other rings of gold thou shalt make, and shalt put them on the 2 sides of the ephod underneath, toward the forepart thereof, over against the other coupling thereof, above the curious girdle of the ephod. And they shall bind the breastplate by the rings thereof unto the rings of the ephod, with a lace of blue, that it may be above the curious girdle of the ephod, and that the breastplate be not loosed from the ephod. And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart, when he goeth in unto the holy place, for a memorial before the Lord continually. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goeth in before the Lord. And Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before the Lord continually. The most considerable of the ornaments of the high priest was this breastplate, a rich piece of cloth, curiously wrought with gold and purple, etc., 2 spans long and a span broad, so that being doubled it was a span square, 15/16. This was fastened to the ephod with wreathen chains of gold, 13, 14, 22, etc., both at top and bottom, so that the breastplate might not be loosed from the ephod, 15:28. The ephod was the garment of service. The breastplate of judgment was an emblem of honor. These 2 must by no means be separated. If any man will minister unto the Lord, and do his will, he shall know his doctrine. In this breastplate, the tribes of Israel, were recommended to God's favor in 12 precious stones, 15:17-21, 29. Some question whether Levi had a precious stone with his name or no. If not, Ephraim and Manasseh were reckoned distinct, as Jacob had said they should be, and the high priest himself, being head of the tribe of Levi, sufficiently represented that tribe. If there was a stone for Levi, as is intimated by this that they were engraved according to their birth, 15:10, Ephraim and Manasseh were one in Joseph. Aaron was to bear their names for a memorial before the Lord continually, being ordained for men to represent them in things pertaining to God, herein typifying our great high priest, who always appears in the presence of God for us. 1. Though the people were forbidden to come near and obliged to keep their distance, but by the high priest, who had their names on his breastplate, they entered into the holiest. So believers, even while they are here on this earth, not only enter into the holiest, but by faith are made to sit with Christ in heavenly places. Ephesians 2:6.
2, the name of each tribe was engraved in a precious stone to signify how precious in God's sight believers are and how honorable. Isaiah 43:4. They shall be his in the day he makes up his jewels. Malachi 3:17. How small and poor soever the tribe was, it was a precious stone in the breastplate of the high priest. Thus are all the saints dear to Christ, and his delight is in them as the excellent ones of the earth, however men may esteem them as earthen pitchers. Lamentations 4:2. 3. The high priest had the names of the tribes both on his shoulders and on his breast, intimating both the power and the love with which our Lord Jesus intercedes for those that are his. He not only bears them up on his heart, as the expression here is, verse 29, carries them in his bosom, Isaiah 40:11,
with the most tender affection. How near should Christ's name be to our hearts, since he is pleased to lay our names so near his? And what a comfort it is to us in all our addresses to God that the great high priest of our profession has the names of all his Israel upon his breast before the Lord for a memorial, presenting them to God as the people of his choice who were to be made accepted in the beloved. Let not any good Christians fear that God has forgotten them, nor question his being mindful of them upon all occasions, when they are not only engraven upon the palms of his hands, but engraven upon the heart of the great intercessor. Second, the Urim and Thummim, by which the will of God was made known in doubtful cases, were put in this breastplate, which is therefore called the breastplate of judgment. Verse 30. Urim and Thummim signify light and integrity. Many conjectures there are among the learned what they were. We have no reason to think they were anything that Moses was to make more than what was before ordered, so that either God made them himself and gave them to Moses for him to put into the breastplate when other things were prepared, Leviticus 8:8, or no more is meant than the declaration of the further use of what was already ordered to be made. I think the words may be read thus, and thou shalt give, or add, or deliver to the breastplate of judgment the illuminations and perfections, and they shall be upon the heart of Aaron. That is, he shall be endued with the power of knowing and making known the mind of God in all difficult, doubtful cases relating either to the civil or ecclesiastical state of the nation. Their government was a theocracy. God was their king. The high priest was, under God, their ruler. The Urim and Thummim were his cabinet council. Probably Moses wrote upon the breastplate, or wove into it, these words, Urim and Thummim, to signify that the high priest, having on him this breastplate and asking counsel of God in any emergency relating to the public, should be directed to take those measures and give that advice which God would own. If he was standing before the ark, but without the veil, probably he received the instructions from off the mercy seat, as Moses did, chapter 25:22. Thus, it should seem, Phinehas did, Judges 20:27-28. If he was at a distance from the ark, as Abiathar was when he inquired of the Lord for David in 1 Samuel 23:6, etc., then the answer was given either by a voice from heaven or rather by an impulse upon the mind of the high priest. The last which is perhaps intimated in that expression, he shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart. This oracle was of great use to Israel. Joshua consulted it, Numbers 27:21, and it is likely the judges after him. It was lost in the captivity and never regained after, though it should seem it was expected, Ezra 2:63. But it was a shadow of good things to come, and the substance is Christ. He is our oracle. By him God in these last days makes known himself and his mind to us. Hebrews 1:2, John 1:18. Divine revelation centers in him and comes to us through him. He is the light, the true light, the faithful witness, the truth itself, and from him we receive the Spirit of truth who leads into all truth. The joining of the breastplate to the ephod denotes that his prophetical office was founded in his priesthood, and it was by the merit of his death that he purchased this honor for himself and this favor for us. It was the Lamb that had been slain that was worthy to take the book and open the seals. Revelation 5:9.
And thou shalt make the robe of the ephod all of blue. And there shall be an hole in the top of it, in the midst thereof. It shall have a binding of woven work round about the whole of it, as it were the hole of an habergeon, that it be not rent. And beneath upon the hem of it thou shalt make pomegranates of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet round about the hem thereof, and bells of gold between them round about. A golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate, upon the hem of the robe round about. And it shall be upon Aaron to minister, and his sound shall be heard when he goeth in unto the holy place before the Lord, and when he cometh out, that he die not. And thou shalt make a plate of pure gold, and grave upon it, like the engravings of a signet, Holiness to the Lord. And thou shalt put it on a blue lace, that it may be upon the mitre. Upon the forefront of the mitre it shall be. And it shall be upon Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel shall hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall be always upon his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. And thou shalt embroider the coat of fine linen, and thou shalt make the mitre of fine linen, and thou shalt make the girdle of needlework.
Here is 1. Direction given concerning the robe of the ephod, verses 31 through 35. This was next under the ephod, and reached down to the knees, was without sleeves, and was put on over their head, having holes on the sides to put the arms through. Or, as Maimonides describes it, was not sewed together on the sides at all. The hole on the top, through which the head was put, was carefully bound about, that it might not tear in the putting on. In religious worship, care must be taken to prevent everything that may distract the minds of the worshippers, or render the service despicable. Round the skirts of the robe were hung golden bells and the representations of pomegranates made of yarn of diverse colors. The pomegranates added to the beauty of the robe, and the sound of the bells gave notice to the people in the outer court when he went into the holy place to burn incense, that they might then apply themselves to their devotions at the same time. Luke 1:10. In token of their concurrence with him in his offering, and their hopes of the assent of their prayers to God in virtue of the incense he offered. Aaron must come near to minister in the garments that were appointed him, that he die not. It is at his peril if he attend otherwise than according to the institution. This intimates that we must serve the Lord with fear and holy trembling, as those that know we deserve to die, and are in danger of making some fatal mistake. Some make the bells of the holy robe to typify the sound of the gospel of Christ in the world, giving notice of his entrance within the veil for us. Blessed are those that hear this joyful sound. Psalm 89:15. The adding of the pomegranates, which are a fragrant fruit, denotes the sweet savor of the gospel, as well as the joyful sound of it, for it is a savor of life unto life. The church is called an orchard of pomegranates. 2. Concerning the golden plate fixed upon Aaron's forehead, on which must be engraven Holiness to the Lord, verses 36-37, or the holiness of Jehovah. Aaron must hereby be reminded that God is holy, and that his priests must be holy. Holiness becomes his house and household. The high priest must be sequestered from all pollution and consecrated to God and to his service and honor, and so must all his ministrations be. All that attend in God's house must have holiness to the Lord engraven upon their foreheads. That is, they must be holy,
devoted to the Lord and designing His glory in all they do. This must appear in their forehead in an open profession of their relation to God, as those that are not ashamed to own it, and in a conversation in the world answerable to it. It must likewise be engraven like the engravings of a signet, so deep, so durable, not painted to be washed off, but sincere and lasting. Such must our holiness to the Lord be. Aaron must have this upon his forehead, that he may bear the iniquity of the holy things, verse 38, and that they may be accepted before the Lord. Herein he was a type of Christ, the great mediator between God and man, through whom it is that we have to do with God. 1. Through him what is amiss in our services is pardoned. The divine law is stripped. In many things we come short of our duty, so that we cannot but be conscious to ourselves of much iniquity cleaving even to our holy things. When we would do good, evil is present. Even this would be our ruin if God should enter into judgment with us. But Christ, our high priest, bears this iniquity, bears it for us so as to bear it from us, and through him it is forgiven to us and not laid to our charge. 2. Through him what is good is accepted. Our persons, our performances are pleasing to God on the account of Christ's intercession and not otherwise. 1 Peter 2:5. His being holiness to the Lord recommends all those to the divine favor that are interested in his righteousness and clothed with his Spirit, and therefore he has said it was for our sakes that he sanctified himself. John 17:19. Having such a high priest, we come boldly to the throne of grace. Hebrews 4:14-16. 3. The rest of the garments are but named, verses 39, because there was nothing extraordinary in them. The embroidered coat of fine linen was the innermost of the priestly garments. It reached to the feet and the sleeves to the wrists, and was bound to the body with the girdle or sash of needlework. The mitre, or diadem, was of linen such as kings anciently wore in the East, typifying the kingly office of Christ. He is a priest upon the throne, Zechariah 6:13, a priest with a crown. These two God has joined, and we must not think to separate them.
The priest's attire, 1491 BC. 40. And for Aaron's sons thou shalt make coats, and thou shalt make for them girdles, and bonnets shalt thou make for them, for glory and for beauty. 41. And thou shalt put them upon Aaron thy brother, and his sons with him, and shalt anoint them, and consecrate them, and sanctify them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office. 42. And thou shalt make them linen breeches to cover their nakedness, from the loins even unto the thighs they shall reach. 43. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons when they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever unto him and his seed after him. We have here 1. Particular orders about the vestments of the inferior priests. They were to have coats and girdles and bonnets of the same materials with those of the high priest, but there was a difference in shape between their bonnets and his mitre. Theirs, as his, were to be for glory and beauty, verse 40, that they might look great in their ministration. Yet all this glory was nothing compared with the glory of grace, this beauty nothing to the beauty of holiness, of which these holy garments were typical. They are particularly ordered in their ministration to wear linen breeches to cover their nakedness, verse 42. This teaches us modesty and decency of garb and gesture at all times, especially in public worship, in which a veil is becoming, 1 Corinthians 11:5, 6, 10. It also intimates what need our souls have of a covering when we come before God, that the shame of their nakedness may not appear. 2.
A general rule concerning the garments both of the high priest and of the inferior priests, that they were to be put upon them at first when they were consecrated, in token of their being invested in the office, verse 41. And then they were to wear them in all their ministrations, but not at other times, verse 43. And this at their peril, lest they bear iniquity and die. Those who are guilty of omissions in duty, as well as omissions of duty, shall bear their iniquity. If the priests perform the instituted service and do not do it in the appointed garments, it is, say the Jewish doctors, as if a stranger did it, and the stranger that cometh nigh shall be put to death. Nor will God connive at the presumptions and irreverences of even those whom he causes to draw most near to him. If Aaron himself put a slight upon the divine institution, he shall bear iniquity and die. To us, these garments typify, 1. The righteousness of Christ. If we appear not before God in this, we shall bear iniquity and die. What have we to do at the wedding feast without a wedding garment, or at the altar without the array of his priests? Matthew 22:12-13. 2. The armor of God, prescribed Ephesians 6:13. If we venture without that armor, our spiritual enemies will be the death of our souls, and we shall bear the iniquity, our blood will be upon our own heads. Blessed is therefore he that watcheth and keepeth his garments. Revelation 16:15. 3. This is said to be a statute forever, that is, it is to continue as long as the priesthood continues. But it is to have its perpetuity in the substance of which these things were the shadows.